Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast, where every week we hear an amazing story from a serious founder who built a valuable software company and did it without big funding. I'm your host, Greg Head, and this week my guest is Landon Taylor, the co-founder and CEO of Snoball, Snoball, a fast-growing early-stage software company that Landon has created out of another company he ran before that, which was created out of a company he ran before that. So today's episode talks about the very common way for practical founders to create a software business out of another business, usually a digital business or something previous. Landon has parlayed one business into a faster-growing, larger version of another business. And he openly talks about the challenges, what's worked for him, and how he has created Snoball to be a fast-growing company and what insights he has brought to the table from his previous lessons as a practical founder. It's a great episode with my friend Landon. Hey, Landon, welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast. It's great to see you with the mountains of Utah behind you.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. It's good to be on with you, as always.
Yeah. As I mentioned, you're a friend of mine. I visit when I'm up in Utah, and I spend a few months of my year up there skiing and running around in the mountains and so forth. And you're on the other side of the hill from Park City in Utah. And, you know, you're one of the, let's say, OG practical founders. You've been doing this a long time. You've got a really cool company now. Finally made it to your SaaS dream and so forth here. Let's just start with Snoball. And, tell us what it is and what's going on there. And then we'll go back to your journey. But I'm curious about how many employees and how's revenues and how are things going? We've worked together.
Yeah.
And I've helped you a bit here, but I'd love the update on Snoball. And we'll just start there.
Yeah. And shameless plug, you didn't ask me to do this, Greg, and I didn't tell you I would, but, you really helped us kind of narrow down our focus, right? One exercise we went through with you was really kind of identifying who we were for. And what were our strengths, and what was a category we wanted to really laser focus in on. So the focusing has been an ongoing effort. And Snoball today, home services is our target, right? That's our market.
There we go.
And specifically highly considered home services. So high ticket, right? There's a considered process. They're working with the sales rep. And so what Snoball does today is home service companies are really good at what they do, right, in terms of the trade.
And examples of those for people here in the States.
Solar, right? Putting solar on the roof. Putting a new garage door in your home or a new HVAC system, right? Things like that.
And really those are more expensive, we would say. So you'd need a salesperson come out, give a custom quote, knock on your door, all that kind of stuff.
That's right. And trust is so paramount, right? So if your neighbor tells you they had a good experience, then you're likely to say, okay, that's enough, right? That's all I need. So they're highly referable products and services. So all those things, you package that together. Home service companies, though, the technicians, the reps, they're good at what they do, but they're not good at the post-customer word-of-mouth marketing motion. And what I mean by that is nurturing a conversation with your customer to get referrals, get reviews, build your reputation so that word of mouth is not by default, but by design. Right. So Snoball comes in and it's akin to hiring somebody who all they're doing is nurturing conversations with each and every customer to get those things, those 3 R's, referrals, reviews, and then reputation marketing collateral. And so it's a done-for-you platform. It's almost more a service as a software than it is a software as a service. And I'm sure we'll get into that, our background in service and how we've kind of evolved into this. But that's the gap that Snoball fills, is that done-for-you word-of-mouth marketing by design. So it's not just something that said, most people say, I'll do good work and then I'll probably get referrals, right? People will spread the word. We want it to be by design and be intentional. And that's what the Snoball platform does.
And so how many people in the business now, customers, revenue? I know we're going to talk about your many businesses and how you've turned one thing into another and funded that, the transition between those kinds of things. Tell us about how far you are with Snoball.
Yeah, so we have 19 folks. We're here in Pleasant Grove, Utah, 30 minutes south of Salt Lake. and hundreds of customers. We're north of 7 figures in ARR, and our new product is growing triple digits year over year. So, we're still in the game of trying to grow and build, and things like further defining our ICP, right? And how does marketing and sales and success and ops all kind of work, coherently together. We're figuring things out every week, every day, but yeah, we're on to something. When a company plugs in, they have good results, right? And the biggest factor that correlates to success for a client is how quickly they get to outcomes. And our platform it measures those specific outcomes, right? How many referrals they got, how many sales they got from those referrals. So we really are, once we plug somebody in, it works. So we're really excited. It's now just a matter of how do we scale that, right? How do we fund that? How do we, all those things.
So you're out of the crazy experimentation stage when I was helping you. Say, I got a business over here. We're trying things over here. And just to reinforce what you said we're making this software and we think it's for every business. And then, well, what is your other service business? Well, mostly home services, and and then there's a spectrum there. So as you cross 1 million and head towards 5 million in ARR for most B2B software companies, it's that thing that says, well, we're in this space, but not just in this space. We're over here in this corner, right? And you keep, literally focusing to grow faster based on who's most successful, who's giving you the most referrals, right? That whole thing there. Referrals are this thing, word of mouth marketing. It's important for every SaaS company, especially in verticals where everybody talks to each other, dental, legal, and all the rest of that. But it's generally one of these things that you can't push, you can't track. It isn't intentional. It isn't proactive, and measurable, just like everything else. And so it kind of is just this other thing, right? If we weren't able to track it, it was just other / word of mouth or whatever. But in today's, for SaaS companies, I know you don't sell to SaaS companies, but for SaaS companies we're talking about here, all that's paid media and outbound and content marketing and so forth here. If your customers are not happy and in love with you and telling their friends, you've got a problem in your business and you can't grow. We'll talk about all of that here. You've had other services type businesses along the way. Do you have any of those left? We'll go through those, but is this your main thing right now, Landon?
Yeah, it is. We do have, we own the platform bestcompany.com. That was our prior business to Snowball. Well, actually, Snowball was a spin out of what was Best Company for Business. It was the bestcompany.com. It's a review site, two-sided marketplace, brands and consumers. So Best Company for Business was the software side of that platform that we spun out and rebranded to Snowball. So bestcompany.com still exists. We went through a transaction where we got out of the business model that was, and we'll probably get into that. But bestcompany.com is still around, and we still own and operate that platform. And Snowball is deeply integrated into that.
Right. So in this services to software march, multi-businesses, right, which is very common for practical founders. And when we first had a phone call, you were running around, you were in a parking lot somewhere, and I was talking to you and say, hey, Landon, somebody said we should connect and all that kind of stuff. You gave me one of the best words in the practical founder lexicon. And when you say service as a software, like that's one of mine too, but I'm stealing one of yours, which is parlay, meaning I create a business and I find opportunity. I see the next better thing and I kind of do two things at once and experiment and get in there and then eventually get out of the old one. So congratulations on your journey that you are focused and it's moving and you're narrowing in and you've rebranded this thing. You're out of experimentation stage and into that, would you say scale stage, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're focused on how do we scale.
Yeah. And, we've worked together and you were part of the Practical Founder peer groups until it really got messy and you had to, you were juggling all these things here, but you've come out on the other side. So congratulations to that. How does it feel to be out of I want to get something going over here, but I don't see it yet. And the experiments are not right. And how does it feel to be on the other side saying, I know it, I see it, it's working, and we
Yeah.
need to do more? Other side of the hill, really.
Yeah, great question. And to be clear, like there's still a lot of things we got to figure out as we scale, right? There's things I don't
Yeah.
know right now that we'll probably encounter and have to just work through. And but it's like we got the sun behind us coming up over the mountains, right?
Yeah.
It's as if there's like a fog, right? I grew up in the Bay Area, California, and there's always that fog, right? That's when the day starts, and then as the sun comes up, right, it dissipates. The path gets more clear, and there's just this. There's so much power with focus. Right. And with knowing who you are, and that trickles down to everybody in the org. You can explain who you are better, right? You make decisions that are aligned with it's wood behind the arrow, right? You can really, there's just a lot of comfort that comes with focus. And I think that's really where you start to get a lot of torque out of your efforts and your discussions and everything.
Right. And we've had, Landon, hours and hours together with you and your team talking about what does it look like here in SaaS world compared to your software? What does attraction look like?
Yep.
Right. That you can double down on.
To the point where, we reference the discussions we've had over the years internally in our office, the discussions we've had with Greg, we still to this day, because the thing is when you're living in a world of abundance of opportunities, right? It's easy to be the chasing the squirrel guy, right? I think of Doug on that cartoon Up, where he's always looking at the squirrel. So intentionally saying, okay, this is who we are, and this is what we say no to, and let's just go forward, right? Let's just execute on what we know. And so it's you got to constantly kind of remind yourself of that. But we're on that path, I feel like.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. Another way to say it is in that messy experimentation, early start game, you don't really know. When people say, I know I'm starting something and I know the answer, you don't really know. You get out there and you get humbled pretty quickly. We've all been humbled and we're still learning. You're a very humble guy here. And you're also like all in. You're investing your own money in these things, right? Profits from your previous business. But that's kind of an ADD stage, attention deficit disorder. Hey, sell to this guy could be over here, could be over, all that could stuff. Right. And then you realize most of the people you sell to, the who, and most of what you sell, the what, isn't that great relative. And it really needs to be narrowed in and awesome and differentiated and high value and sticky and all that kind of stuff. And you realize that's really hard. And then you end up in the corners where you get over the hill like you described. And I say it's OCD. It's laser focused. Right.
That's the point.
Right. When people say, here's an idea, you say no.
That's a good point. Yep.
It goes from yes to no and so forth. So congratulations on that here.
Thank you.
You mentioned your bestcompany.com. So it's a review site, like all these popular review sites for home services companies and so forth, millions of reviews and so forth here. But that came out of a previous business where, you were doing lots of things and you saw that specific opportunity here. Landon, where did all this start? This addiction to entrepreneurialism and, everything that led you to where did this start? What was your first business?
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. My, I've got to go back to my roots watching my dad run his business. He was a general contractor for 30 plus years. And, he was entrepreneurial minded. He worked extremely hard. But he was a tradesman who didn't know marketing, right? I use the analogy of he was a master with the physical tools. Yes. But when it came to the digital tools, he was lost. Right. And so, my mom was also very driven, right? She was, at one point of our childhood, she was the breadwinner. And, so I think watching them, right. And their entrepreneurial spirit kind of bleed out. That's where I kind of
was she a small business owner as well? Like an owner?
No. So she sold water rights here in Utah, which I don't even know what that necessarily is, but some sort of like there's water rights in the city, that you can sell to different landowners, and so she did that for a while, and it was just she was a solopreneur type thing. So
wow, okay, but it's not like they were small business owners.
That's right. Yeah, really? That's right. So watching them, that's where it started. And as I went on a 2-year LDS mission to Africa, I think I was forced to grow up pretty fast there, right? Being across the world. And when I got back, I just knew I wanted to create. I saw my dad create homes, create remodel. I saw creation over my years, and I wanted to create something. And the best way to do that is to do your own thing. You can be part of, an employee in a company and do amazing things and still create. But I think for me, the path was create my own business. And so, it started in college. I got married young. And before I finished college, I was running my first company, and that was in 2010.
Yeah. What was that?
So the company was called iLead Interactive, and what we did is we learned. It was an affiliate marketing network, right? So we would broker traffic between publishers, people who generated the traffic online, to advertisers, people who sold a product or a service, and we would just be the broker in between, right? So, my job was really kind of finding more and more publishers, connecting them with more and more advertisers, and it was
kind of the water rights of the fuel for software businesses.
It's a good,
for small businesses, which is traffic and eyeballs and interest and leads, right?
Yeah, spot on. I mean, all we really owned was the paper, right? We didn't own the product, we didn't own the traffic. So I ran that for 2.5 years, and for the first year and a half, we spun our wheels. It was a grind. A lot of long hours, not a lot of traction, right? And but we learned the space. And then in 2012, the end of 2012, we met a group that was doing SEM marketing, right? So that's SEO, paid search
engine marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. So we figured we complemented what they did. They complemented what we did, and we merged to form Skyrocket Media in 2013. And that was the first, that was the first company that really kind of started to grow and eventually, got to an exit. But
was your first company like, I'll get you traffic?
Right? That's right. That's right.
Okay. And then Skyrocket Media, like a lot of digital agencies, are about traffic and eyeballs and all of that lead to leads.
That's right.
Which potentially leads to revenue and so forth, all that precious gold there. Was Skyrocket Media more about the traffic building or the lead generation?
Yeah, good question. So we went from being just the broker to being the broker. We still had the affiliate side of Skyrocket Media, but also driving our own traffic, right? So we would run our own internal paid search. We would build our own internal websites that generated the leads and sold them to the end buyer. It became.
So you captured the leads and sold the leads, as opposed to saying, "Okay, that's interesting."
That's right. So in the course of that, how it kind of goes from Skyrocket Media to then Best Company to then Snowball is Skyrocket Media. We had a number of clients who were extremely frustrated with other review site platforms out there. They felt like it was pay to play. They felt like their brand was ransom, which it was, and to this day still is in a lot of cases. And so they were just frustrated. We're like, you know what? There's got to be a better way, right, to do this. And so we created a review site in a specific industry, besthomesecuritycompanies.com. It's a mouthful, but we quickly found out that by having a review site that could be trusted by the brands with actual real reviews, so we collected our own reviews, on behalf of the brands, and we found that the consumer experience was better, and the experience for the brand was better for the companies that were listed.
And you were tracking the results as well, not just the idea, but the conversion was better. Presumably.
That's right. Yep. Conversion was better for the companies buying those leads, and so we're like, once we did a one review site in one industry, we quickly realized there's something here. Let's create bestcompany.com, which can be one platform we can scale into multiple industries quicker. And that's where it was born. It was born in Best Company started in 2016.
So was this, you kind of merged, now you had a new team and you grow an agency. I don't know how big did Skyrocket Media get?
Yeah, it got to, I think we were up to 12 million in revenue. Team of, it was a pretty small team of probably 9. Right.
And for people who do the math in software business, you were probably taking the paid media through there, right? So there was a lot of media spend in there.
Yeah, that's right. The margins were like
divided. Yeah.
No, gross margins like 25, 30%.
Yeah. And so did those people then, did you you found the world changed, and you saw a new opportunity, and you kind of invested in something that was bigger, more scalable that you could find. Did you experiment inside Skyrocket Media and the whole team work? And like, how did you?
Yeah. So Skyrocket
in
Media,
this transition stuff, the parlay stuff,
right.
The word that you gave me here, parlaying one thing into another. How did you do that?
Yeah, it was parlay of the capital, but also of the experience and learnings and the team. So kind of parlay of the whole ship. Is Skyrocket Media got profitable.
Yeah.
We then said, okay, let's start this bestcompany.com platform and work to scale that, but it wasn't profitable, right? It was an investment. Yeah. And so Skyrocket Media was funding Best Company. And then slowly we realized bestcompany.com was the bigger opportunity.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And so we transitioned the team slowly over to Best Company, with the exception of a team of 4 who stayed operating Skyrocket Media.
Yeah.
And over the years, Skyrocket Media became its own company with that team of 4, fully operational, had a good operator and leader who was running it day to day. And then the rest of the team had migrated over to running Best Company. Best Company then got to a place of profitability where it could stand on its own. And at that point, then we had the options of keep running Skyrocket Media or sell Skyrocket Media. The funding wasn't needed anymore for Best Company to survive.
Right. How did you split that up? You became CEO of Best Company.
Right.
And I'm sure it's complicated, but like, what's the simple version of when you spin something out and looks more promising and, the old services business, or in some cases, the old product business is you kind of leave behind with the team and so forth. So how did you do that?
Yeah, it's I think first thing is really having a really good operator that you can lean on, right? Somebody you can trust to run the business day in and day out, right? Without your support. And then aligned incentives, right? So very clear with the team on what the goals were for the business, purpose of the business.
For Best Company?
For for Skyrocket Media.
Okay,
right. And they knew that they were funding Best Company.
Yeah.
And they knew that the goal was eventually to grow Skyrocket Media, either to sell or to be profitable. At which point there was aligned incentives there.
Yeah. So everybody was clear about what the game was.
Transparency, I guess, is the kind of is the common thread there. Is being transparent and then aligning incentives with the right people. Is kind of combination.
Right. And then, so Best Company, you had a lot of software to build a review site,
right?
But it wasn't about pay to, get reviews or get reviewed or things like that. You had a little different business model there, right? It was a free site. You could add a review and see reviews and so forth. But how did you make money in bestcompany.com?
Yeah, good question. Because the ethos of Best Company was we didn't want to be pay to play, where you could pay to get a better ranking, right? So we made our ranking algorithm public. It was primarily based on real reviews from the customers of those companies. And then the revenue model was still drive traffic into the platform. And if somebody clicked or called, we'd get paid a referral commission. Well, the problem was our competitors would just change the ranking of the brands listed to the one paying the highest, right? And so we had a hard time competing. But once we got the truly best companies at the top and formed a lead agreement with them, we were able to really,
so you captured leads and sold very qualified.
That's what it was.
Leads.
That was the revenue model. Yeah, but we were working in this platform that wasn't optimized for pay to play, right? So it was an uphill battle, but we built a brand that brands loved and were willing to lean into, and it was more a long game play than a short term. How can we quickly scale our paid search and lead monetization, right?
Well, and as I remember, it wasn't about just traffic and eyeballs and leads and here's a bunch of crappy leads. You guys were integrating with their CRMs and tracking the closed leads and going all the way back. So it was very performance oriented. Did you charge by the lead and your performance and, with strict qualification criteria and so forth? Yeah,
that's a good call out, because it was, we would, when we'd start a conversation, it'd be, hey, talking to the companies, what is your target CAC, right?
Yeah. Customer acquisition
that's what
cost.
We would customer acquisition cost. That's what we would manage to. So even though they were paying us per lead, we would still back it into what was the effective CAC. And we would proactively measure that so that we could get ahead of it. And it wasn't the company coming to us saying, hey, the CAC's out of whack here, you know, we get ahead of it. CAC's out of whack. That's it. There you go. Quote of the day here. So yeah. So
well, that's like the world's biggest problem for software companies is the cost of acquisition and getting qualified leads. And that's where we are these days. So that's great. How big did Best Company get?
Yeah. So Best Company got up to, let's see, I think just south of 20 million in revenue.
Right.
2016.
So that was like a done for you, a warm referral kind of leads from your review sites and so forth. You'd collect reviews. You would generate traffic. And like you said, in home services, it isn't technical stuff on their website. It's what do people say is the best, because it's a one-time purchase for solar and so forth. And literally you're saying, if you go to other review sites, the number one roofer in your neighborhood is paid for. It's a little bit like Google search, but not as obvious that one's ads paid for and so forth. So you saw opportunities inside Best Company and the opportunity of the amazing SaaS business model, right? To get into that and get out of this better services business, but not quite that software business. Did you have a dream of creating a software company like a lot of service providers? It's like service is hard work and it's not a lot of value when you sell it. It's based on profits and not on revenues. And you're in Utah and there's a software explosion going on in Utah. Yep. Did you say I need to create a SaaS business somehow?
We the way we, going back to 2013, when I merged with the SCM marketing group, we kind of had a 3-phase plan, and it was super general, right? So it wasn't like we were looking into a crystal ball. It was one, go from lead gen, just brokering the traffic, to let's own our own real estate, at least own our own web properties that generated those. Right. And then eventually own our own platform or product, right? Yeah. Software. And whether it's software or platform or whatever it was. So we kind of had that general vision. But you also,
your vision was in steps. Like you didn't say, we need to do software. Let's create software. Let's stop everything. Let's go get funding. No. You said, we're going to get from here to here, from here to here, and we're going to seed along the way.
And we're talking 14 years, right? And we're just at the starting point of growing our SaaS business. So, 14 years, very much wasn't like we're going to go here, then here, then here. It was a broken road in some ways.
Right. Well, let's talk about that, Landon, because you're headed that direction. And in that time frame, literally, the Utah software community went from a few companies that kind of got big. And I mean, behind you literally is where two of the most popular software businesses of the 90s and the 80s even, Novell and WordPerfect were right behind you there. And then, but, even in 2010, 2012, Utah was starting to go as a software, but now it's been an explosion. It's one of the hotter software company markets, and all those buildings. You're in a new building there. All those buildings on the 15 there, and the billboards and so forth. Tech company, VC funded. Why didn't you think about raising funding and do what the cool kids were doing? In Utah County.
Yeah, because it is hard. As you drive by, you're like, man, gosh, should our brand be up there, right? Am I being a good steward of the company if our brand's not on the billboard, right? You have that. I think every business owner has that thought. Yeah. And so we teased at it, right? I talked to many VCs, and we put together a deck and all that stuff. And what I found, Greg, was a couple things. The alignment of what I wanted out of the business and for our people was different than what VCs wanted. They wanted $1 billion or bust, right? Yes. They wanted to load it up with capital and drive it for growth at all costs. And don't get me wrong, we still want to grow. We still want to move forward, but we don't want to have this like unnatural pressure to do it. Right. So that was one, the alignment.
Well, and just stop there. Like there's a lot of software founders, first-time founders and so forth. And people say you just raise funding and it's what you do. they didn't have the perspective that this $1 billion bust game was so unusual. Like it looks like that's what you do in business. But you had a perspective of running businesses, your parents running businesses, that where you said, "Oh, that's a really odd flavor, and it doesn't fit me and what we're trying to create. So we'll keep doing this kind of stair step approach." It wasn't So I totally hear that.
Yeah. You're spot on. It was it felt unnatural, right, in a way. And don't get me wrong, there might be in our future, if it's solely for, like, there is no question that we can become $1 billion. It's not something I've completely disregarded, right?
Yes.
But at the time, it just felt unnatural.
But when you were just starting, would you bet your entire net worth the company in 10
No
years
way.
of your life on that?
No. Because the thing is stuff happens, right? Markets change. You learn things you don't know today. And so there's kind of a one path if you take on VC funding.
Yeah.
And that path can be very exciting, but man, it's one path. And
and behind you in those office buildings there and just up the I-15, there are $1 billion companies in Utah. And there are we raised a lot of funding and had the big layoffs and busted kind of companies.
More of those kind than the other, for sure. But yeah. So alignment was off. And then also too, like just the value of optionality and being able to do it at your pace, in your way, not feeling like you have to make, again, those unnatural decisions, right? So we can learn, we can adapt, we can move. It also gives us a lot of, in my mind, a better chance to give a good outcome to our people.
Let's get better and so forth here. And as you're doing this, not just marketing for getting leads, but marketing for driving real business in an efficient, measurable, economic way, right? You're like, I'm going to do the math all the way through here.
Yep.
And you built the business. Skyrocket Media, was it a big investment to get this company going? Did you guys spend millions,
Definitely spent millions. We did.
Okay. Wow.
We did. Right, we spent millions with the paid search world, right? Where Google's kind of moving is more and more, they're becoming a black box that's got this layer of data that you can't access.
In the Google paid search engine.
Google paid search, yep. And Google says, listen, turn on automatic bidding. Let us make the decisions on the micro bids. You just feed us the data, right?
Yeah.
So we invested a ton into our data model. And so, it was building the platform, the data model that was kind of underneath, took millions and years to build. Okay. And the pain that I felt, Greg, there's a
millions that you could have distributed to the owners of that company.
1,000%. Yeah.
You could have put it in your, your bank account, but you didn't. You said, let's make a bet.
That's right. Spot on.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
One common thread in our motivation for Snowball, we have felt acutely the pain of running paid search on Google and other platforms and the dependency of that. Now there's a place for
the drug
for that. It's a drug, right? And we've had experiences where overnight the carpet's been pulled out. And so the controlling your own destiny as a company when it comes to customer acquisition is something that's like deeply seated in our DNA as a company because we felt it.
Yeah, that's where the power is. Whoever can get the most customer wins. It's not who has the most developers these days. This week's podcast is brought to you by my friends at Fullscale. Last year, I interviewed 3-time software founder Matt Watson on this podcast about his successful practical founder journeys. Matt leveraged offshore development talent in his last 2 SaaS companies to hire quickly and scale up efficiently. His top developers and designers were offshore in the Philippines, but they weren't one-off contractors and they weren't difficult to manage outsourced agencies. He found an endless supply of top tech talent who became savvy members of his team, working hard every day to get things done. So for his 4th tech venture, Matt created Fullscale, which is one of the fastest growing software development companies in any region. Fullscale vets, employs, and supports over 300 professional developers and designers and testers in the Philippines who can augment and extend your core dev team. I know practical SaaS founders who use Fullscale to grow faster and avoid the product development nightmares that can kill a growing startup. So visit fullscale.io and see why their approach works so well, and book a call to see if they can help you. Now back to our podcast. So that's when I started working with you, and you had this the review site, and you were talking to big solar companies and the rest, and you were competing against. We could do paid search, but we're also going to spend money over here to get better leads that convert well. All the way down to cost per lead. For big companies, you grew Best Company. How did you think about? There was kind of this experiments before you got to Snowball. How did you think about those experiments? So it's not just a qualified lead generation for home services coming through your review site, but a software product. How did you think about that at first?
Yeah, to be honest, the first few years, the product side of Best Company was more out of necessity. Our ranking algorithm was based on reviews. So for a lead buyer, a company that wanted to buy leads from us, they first had to get reviews so they could rank highly in our algorithm. And so we created review generation tools, software. And but at that time, we didn't have this vision of eventually we're going to turn this into a SaaS product. It was more out of necessity to feed the lead gen side of the business.
Yeah, your technology stack.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we built a certain number of features through that lens, and then got to a point where it's like an aha moment. We have something here. Now to zoom out, the Snowball is the 3 R's: referrals, reviews, reputation. The first feature set on Best Company was just the reviews and reputation stuff. Until we added referrals, which we added early last year, that was kind of the final catalyst that helped Snowball take off. But for years, we just sold.
So it wasn't like lead capture. They'd find your reviews and then come through as a lead, and you'd sell those kind of really warm leads through your platform.
Right.
The referrals is an intentional approach.
That's right.
To going back to new customers and saying, who else do you know?
That's right.
We all know the trades. They're expert at the trade.
That's
redoing
right.
kitchens. And we can totally see it ourselves. When we have great work done, nobody came back and said, hey, who else do you know? And can you do a review? We get that automated review stuff, but it doesn't really.
It's a one message, right? It's actually become a little bit of a curse. When I have somebody come to my home to do work, when they leave, I'll almost sit and watch my phone. Okay, are they going to reach out to me because they did a great job? I just want to see, are they going to reach out? Most companies don't even reach out.
Yeah.
Best in class is they send one message, that says,
please give us a Google review.
Give us a Google review. But that's it. And so, and these are people who have done great work, who I would shout from the rooftops to my neighbors. And so, a couple fun stats that we've learned in talking to hundreds of thousands of homeowners is it takes at least 3 touch points after the job is done to get your first referral from a homeowner. And then 50% of new referrals come from somebody who has left at least one referral before. The combination of those two things in our eyes is it takes time to nurture and earn the top of mind of your customers.
So for them to do something. Yes.
To do something.
Refer,
right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that when they're at the picnic down the road or talking to their family and that family member mentions, I need this, their first thought is then, okay, I can refer you to so-and-so. So earning that top of mind takes time and number of touch points. And then once they refer one person, they need to have a good experience with the referral program.
Oh.
Right? The commitment's honored. The referral I sent over had a good experience before they open up the floodgates. So
it's kind of like a gift. I always refer to word of mouth as a gift. People are not referring people because they're trying to get a referral credit or make money or whatever. They say, and I do a ton of referrals, right? We say, I know exactly your problem. And in the world, there's somebody who does exactly that and they're awesome. Right. So that's a gift to you, right?
Right.
I get a big smile because you say, oh my God, that was awesome. Thank you very much. You found just the right person, just the right way. And they got me the result I wanted and so forth. So that's that superpower. And in our peer groups, people do that all the time. And we're giving gifts to each other, the gift of a great referral.
Yep. And if you give that gift and that gift is fumbled or mishandled, then you're not going to refer, you're not
Or
going to get
they
more
did,
gifts.
they gave a bad review.
Yeah.
I didn't like that guy.
You're going to go from being an advocate to a detractor. So
Yeah.
it takes time to nurture, and it takes making sure that your referral experience meets the level of the service experience that you gave right in the home. And and if you do those two things, then you can build this snowball momentum, right? We see so many companies, Greg, that provide a great service. They try to stand up a referral program, and it just kind of falls flat, right? And so the experience there is poor.
Right. They send out an email and say, please refer a friend and, get a Starbucks gift card or something like that. And again, that's not the gift we're trying to give, right? We're not trying to, or get.
Yeah. Yeah. And then somebody will refer and they don't hear anything more, right? They're like, hey, my friend, I actually saw my friend just got the solar on their home. Where's my gift card, right? And the company's like, oh, what are you talking? We don't know what you're talking about. It's just not a good buttoned up program. So the combination of those two things, nurturing and then a really buttoned up program, are important to have. And that's what Snowball does from the referral standpoint.
So some of it's software and it's automated and, all of that. And some of it's not software. So, when we're out here creating businesses and we don't have a vision as I need to raise funding, it needs to be software only. There's a problem in the world. The answer is a software product, right? Yep. You're saying there's an opportunity in the world. There's a big problem out there. How do we solve this? Some of it is software. And I guess some of it is, do you do like the referral asking and the experience for them as a service kind of thing?
That's right.
So some of your team does that, or?
That's right. It's normal. It's Megan is the name of the Snowball assistant, and Megan's doing all the follow up with their customers over email and text,
automated software,
following up. You know what? So it is a human in the loop.
Okay.
They've got the superpowers of AI and automation, but there is a human in a seat, making sure those conversations are personalized with each and every customer of these home service brands.
That last mile that AI doesn't do, right? That personalization and that it's recognizable, that it isn't just the blah, 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 blah kind of thing. On the other side of that, I call it AI actual intelligence.
Yeah.
Kind of thing there. So isn't that interesting?
So there's a human.
And do you do that because that's what's required, or because you're kind of addicted to the superpower of services and the human touch? Or
I just, what we feel internally is AI is going to continue to just proliferate, right?
Yeah.
The human touch is going to become more and more paramount, right? Because I think
differentiated.
Differentiated. Consumers are going to catch on to this is just another bot, right? That I'm talking to. So having a human in the loop is important. So we're a done for you platform, right? So we do it all for the company.
So I'm a big solar company and I got people in all kinds of regions. What is an average solar panel installation revenue?
It can be not far from 100,000 or even more. It can be expensive.
So these are really serious purchases.
That's right.
And they're worth doing well and getting referrals and spending money on marketing and sales teams and people knocking on doors and all of that kind of stuff. So you're jumping into that.
That's right.
And Landon, we just had this conversation at the Practical Founders Summit, right? AI is exploding. We could see it on LinkedIn. We could see it in our emails. And we know it's just an AI message, and it's just exploding. And a lot of people have this, which is you be recognizably human.
Right.
And people will respond. And people even say, I always respond when I recognize. How do you create the recognition that there's a human there?
Yeah, I mean, it's by making the conversation contextual to the situation of that customer, right? Yeah. So they're not just getting a cookie cutter response at a cookie cutter time in their life cycle, right? It's like, so I'll give you an example is if a consumer responds back from our outreach that they are moving in 2.5 months and they want to talk to us then, they'll get a follow-up in 2.5 months that will reference that specific conversation. And so they know that, okay, this person, for a bot to remember my situation and to reach out at the exact time would be very difficult, right? So just making it so the customer feels like they're talking to me and just me. Right?
And is that a email with a person, or is that an outreach call, or what is that?
So mostly over text. We do text and email.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. But mostly over text. And So yeah, making it contextual, falling at the right time in the right way. That's how you can give them the feeling of, hey, I'm talking to Megan, right? I'm talking to somebody on the other side.
So what percent of it is, let's say, human of the process? What percent of it's human? Is it 90% automated and the human puts that last little touch on it, the 10%, or how would you?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably
roughly
60-40 today. And our hope is to make it 70-30, 75-25, get to a point where it's like the AI is so good in the role it plays that the human can do it at scale.
Right. And people say, Greg, you ought to have AI write your posts or whatever. But like, I want them to know that, there's a last mile that's quite serious that, of the value in the story and the whatever, the edge there. But people know it's recognizably me that day, just like we're talking right today. So
that's right.
That's awesome here. So a solar panel installation company, you're not talking to the little, teams. You're talking to big companies that spend money on they have marketing departments, right?
Yeah, right.
And so forth here, and $50,000-$100,000 installation, and financing and all that stuff goes out there. And there's, these are multi-million-dollar business, but they're spending millions on marketing this game.
Yep.
What is your business model? How do they spend money with you?
Yeah, so it's a true SaaS platform fee, a monthly fee. Okay. It's priced based on the number of contacts we are reaching out to, number of their customers we're talking to. Okay. So it scales as they, ingest more customers into the platform. And then there's a transaction fee. So we handle the fulfillment of the referral reward to the referring customer, right? So the
whole referral experience, you would say.
Exactly, the whole thing. So because we broker that transaction, there's a transaction fee that's nominal in there.
Yeah. That's your value metric. Is the bigger companies, the more contacts, the more roofs you install, the more word of mouth there is, and the more work to be done. And right. And are they clear that, because they could buy your platform and do it themselves, but maybe you've tried that. But did you try that? And then you said, nobody's going to do this themselves. We got to do it for them.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of like this broken road, right? You don't know when you start, you learn, you adapt. Yeah. We did. We built it initially thinking, okay, we're gonna give them the car. They're gonna put the driver in. Yeah. And the driver for a home service company that's the best suited to ask for referrals and reviews is the sales rep or the technician, right? The person that was in the home.
That already had the conversations with them. Yeah.
Right. And getting those two stakeholders to do anything outside their normal motion is super difficult.
Right.
So we quickly realized that it's impossible. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The top tier maybe will do it, but otherwise it won't happen. So we quickly came to this, okay, the white space here is done for you, and essentially giving the rep an assistant. So when we reach out, it's, hi, this is Megan, the assistant to John Doe, the rep at XYZ company. We want to introduce our referral program. So a company, when they onboard, can decide they want to make it personalized as if it's coming from the assistant to the rep, or they want to make it like a general, hey, this is Megan at XYZ company. We can do either or, but there's power with that personalization, including the rep's name. So so that's kind of we learned as we went, right, that it needed to be done for you.
Awesome. How long did it take you to learn that lesson?
Oh man, we fun story. We built an app, mobile app on the iOS store, spent $250,000 over the course of 8 months, talked to hundreds of sales reps, and we were going to build an app that sales reps could use to run their own referral efforts.
The frontline salespeople, do
that app is built. It never made a dime. But in the process, we learned all those things I just mentioned that then informed the done-for-you solution. So it took, to answer your question, I'd say it took definitely more than a year, and probably, hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure that out.
Right. Well, and isn't that interesting? Because you're saying, yes, I need to invest to run the experiments to see what works, and you figure out where to go with this. In the VC-funded land, in an early stage company, raise money to run the experiments, the experiments probably won't work or create the
Right.
result that you expected. They'll create some result, but that's the learning there. You're kind of wise that we know there's something there. We're going to give it a try. It probably won't work, but we'll learn. We'll keep learning there. And it's not an all or nothing bet that you raise some money and you run your experiments. If it doesn't work, you're out.
Right.
You get to do that. I mean, has anything work the first time you do it, or you imagine it's going to take a few cuts?
Yeah, and the thing is, until you have customers, so we're now evolving to where we were a design, build, and then sell, right? Kind of approach.
All right, that.
Yeah. And we're now, because we have a customer base that we can sell new products to, and we're focused on who we are. It's now more a sell first, then go design and build it, right? Let's validate it first. So we're evolving now to where we're more, before we invest a ton of money and time, we can validate. But until you have customers, you have to kind of just go, and
make
learn.
an assumption. Yeah.
Make some assumptions, do your best, get the best discovery you can. But at some point you have to take that leap, and it takes time. It takes money. I'm not proud of the mistakes, but we learned a lot. I look at it as not that we lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I look at it as we learned what is now our company going forward, and is worth the investment.
And I think that's the competitive advantage that people have, is that longevity and the number of tries and the amount of true learning in there, right? Because you can do a lot of stuff and not call it an experiment and not do the learning and not make any change as a result of it. But Snoball, SNOBALL.com, came out of bestcompany.com. Roughly, what can you say you invested to get that going between team and product builds, and we'll not count opportunity cost. The amount but you could have taken money out of that, but you spent it on let's make a bigger thing here. The parlay game. I don't know. Was it millions or
millions for sure? And we're still, Snowball's still in a growth phase.
So you're burning a little bit, meaning it's not profitable yet. Yeah. Okay.
So we're still, that number is still ticking up, but it's definitely in the millions.
Yeah. Looking back, are you glad you invested the millions, and ran those experiments to find the things, or could you have said, geez, we would have done it differently. We could have spent a lot less and got there a lot faster.
Yeah, definitely some things we could have done differently, for sure. There's not a ton of regrets. There's things we would have done differently. And, we bought out a partner that I wouldn't have done if I could go back. It really kind of burdened the business because we funded the partner buyout with the profits from the previous businesses. But I look back, and if we hadn't continued to parlay, continued to experiment, and just kind of rested on our laurels, we probably would have eventually, been out of business or not had as good a business to sell. So always looking forward and moving forward was important for us. We kind of bypassed some landmines. I'll give you an example is when COVID hit, to end of 2019, there was Google had some algorithm updates that hit us hard. Yeah. And then COVID hit. And if we hadn't started to seed what is Snowball today, we would have been hurt pretty hard.
Well, it's kind of like the innovator's dilemma for big companies. You got to create a big company here, and you have to do these startup innovation experiments. Innovation is what big companies call this sideways parlay investment here. But if you're public, they want profits now and not these investments later. So, and it's a cultural change and so forth. But big companies have a lot of momentum in the big ship here. Small companies, if you're not evolving the ship quickly and, trying to figure out what is the next ship, right? Inside this, the digital marketing realm or so forth, right? That things change really quickly. 5 years, what worked 5 years ago, it goes away, kind of thing. So
that's right. Yeah.
That's a lot there. I don't think word of mouth marketing is going to go away anytime soon.
No,
I think we've pummeled outbound marketing and email and social outreach and
and layer on
content
top of that,
to some extent.
Yeah, layer on top of that, Greg, you're right. And the trades are not going anywhere. AI can't replace a plumber come to your home and fixing your piping or somebody putting stuff on your roof, right? So the trades are not going anywhere, and word of mouth's not going anywhere. So we feel like that combination
Yeah, I totally see that.
Yep.
So you're digital marketing, reviews, reputation management, what the world sees, of your company in the digital realm, and now referrals here. And I don't know you're not serving SaaS companies, but what could you tell a friend has a SaaS business who says we're paying for all this kind of stuff, and you say, are you doing referrals? And they say, well, we get some referrals, but we don't do anything about it. What would you say to them in this audience about how SaaS founders should be thinking about intentional referrals in their go-to-market?
Well, I think there's a lot of elements to the word of mouth stuff that we do, the flywheel of the 3 R's, referrals, reviews, and reputation, that are ubiquitous, right? Across, it applies to all industries. How you talk to your customer is different, right? It's not a homeowner. It's another business, right? And so, but I would say dedicate resources to nurture those conversations, dial in your tracking. We have some software.
Invest in word of mouth.
Invest in
as a process.
Yeah, invest in it. And we have some clients who are B2B SaaS, but it's invest in it, be intentional about the design, right? And so by nurturing conversations, you identify who are your happy ones. You still need reviews on G2 Crowd or Gartner or wherever your brand is positioned. And then you want to be able to social proof your brand on your website, right, and whatnot. And so I would love any SaaS founder who wants to riff on that stuff. I'd be more than happy to pro bono to give them just some thoughts. But the motion is ubiquitous. So how you do it, it may be slightly nuanced, but the framework is pretty ubiquitous.
So be intentional about it, invest in it, create systems around it and some kind of process that works, but show up as a personalized experience and manage the experience. So I'm thinking about the brand and marketing out there, the sales process, and the funnel experience, right? And then there's the onboarding experience, and then there's the product experience, which that is so important in SaaS to keep customers happy for a long time. But you're also talking about a intentional, referral relationship, conversation.
And there's a little bit of a gap here that I think the reason it's not intentional with a lot of SaaS businesses is you have the stakeholders in your business who are focused on top of funnel, drive leads through, right? You have your sales team focused on close the pipeline. You have your success team who's focused on get the client to outcomes, right? There's this gap of there's not really a dedicated resource in most companies to nurture existing customers for referrals and reviews. And so it's probably, unless you're a big SaaS company, it's probably not worth a full-time investment, full-time employee. So there's a little bit of a gap. There's not really anybody doing it. And so
you do it. So you serve home services, but I go to your website and it doesn't say we're the best for home services. Does that? So how are you playing that game these days, right? Because somebody could knock on your door and they're not home services. You're talking to them, but this is a common focus problem is really we're focused, we know we're at home services where we came, but we're trying to be more, we don't want to declare it, on our website. How are you playing that game now? So everything below the surface, who we prospect, industry trade shows we go to, our messaging and our marketing, who we're trying to market to is all aligned with specific home service industries. We're keeping the aperture pretty wide in terms of the window dressing on our website. Because we're still learning which industries are going to take, and do the best. So that's the reason why on the website it's not as refined. But I'm anxious to get to that point though, where we're eventually it's specific on who we're for. Right. Well, I was SaaS guy. I was SaaS guy for a long time, running around helping software founders, come out of the software business and had played the game a long time. And then my signal strength, changed when I declared, no, it's really just about the practical founders who are quite serious. We had a conversation, and by the end of 30 minutes, we were like, man, we got to do something together kind of thing, because I declared my lens right there. And I didn't say, well, I serve everybody from big VCs to startups to, all that kind of thing. So, I totally hear what you're saying there in investing there. I know you sold Best Company and you're still connected to Best Company. Your
Yeah.
reviews, of Snowball are connected to Best Company. There's an interesting story there. Did you make big money when you sold off the rights in that complicated way? Or was that just a way to, keep moving with Snowball and, take some profits off the table or some,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fairly recent, right? This was January of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more like a licensing deal, right? So
Okay,
we still
right.
own bestcompany.com, the platform.
Right.
But in terms of all the media rights, monetization of traffic, we sold the majority of the industries on the platform. We sold the rights to that.
Okay.
And so
Was that a big win, or was that like a focusing kind of exercise and a little bit of funding?
multiple, it was, multiple millions,
Yeah.
but it's mostly to fund Snowball.
Okay.
And so another example of we didn't take chips off the table, we reinvested into Snowball. And so we're all in on growing Snowball. We're self-funding it from the funds that came from Best Company, and that's where we're at today.
So I'm sure you have friends who say, Landon, why aren't you raising VC funding, right?
Totally.
Doing all that kind of stuff. Oh, you go to the basketball game with your kids and, how's that going? Why aren't you raising VC funding? Is there another crowd, maybe folks at your family picnics that say, Landon, how come you're still climbing the mountain and investing in this next thing? You always got a new thing you're investing in. You're not just taking profits out and, buying a bigger house up the hill or something like that. Why is it that you're continuing to turn one thing into another after 14 years?
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, right? I mean, at some point you have to harvest, right? You have to have times of harvest. I love the team we've got. I love the problem we're solving. We're finally on that third phase of that plan we had 14 years ago of the software. We've got something now. And so this is, this is the big swing. And I'm sure after Snowball, whenever that is, there'll probably be some other form of creating and building and whatnot. But, it's funny you mentioned the VCs, right? Hey, why aren't you raising big VC money? Greg, I think the tune is shifting in the market.
Yeah.
Where I think
more practical.
This idea of practical, approach is resonating. And not only with the founders, but also with those that are looking to acquire businesses. I think they appreciate the practical, profit efficient growth mentality. And so, I feel like we're in a good spot with a good product, good team. And heck, if I weren't doing this, what would I be doing? I'm still young and I want to, we'll keep building but I think this is probably the biggest swing we'll take out of the three.
Yeah, so you did all those other things to get you here.
That's right.
What's your vision for this thing? You'll take it as big as it gets, but could you imagine having a very profitable business and running that for a long time? Or does somebody need to buy this? Do you have any investors that need to get paid back out of this?
No institutional investors. Cap table is pretty simple. And but probably eventually an exit.
Okay.
Yeah, in the next I just turned 40, right? I haven't had we've always parlayed.
Haven't had the big win.
Yeah, having a harvest, my wife would appreciate that, right? and so that's probably the next phase, next milestone.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your go-to-market for Snowball? Is it, outbound to the biggest solar and home services company, roofing and the rest?
Yeah, we're eating our own dog food, right? So referrals is actually our most fruitful channel right now. And so referrals, and then augmented with an outbound motion. We have a small team of SDRs, and then we also go to specific industry events.
That narrowing in that you do. What is it? I know you're just learning it, but what does an average good customer pay you? I know I'm sure it's a wide range as you're starting out here, but what are you thinking? Is the customer, because they're bigger and it's performance based, that that they pay you 100 or 200,000 a year because you're driving,
Yeah,
a
no,
major
it's
part of their
actually
funnel?
on the smaller end right now. It's about 20,000 a year
Okay.
is the average annual contract value. And
Right.
we've got a nice kind of land and expand motion in place where we start off at a certain subset of their
Right. And you get
customers,
them moving. Yeah.
and then they grow. So that will increase over time, but that's what it is right now.
Awesome. Well, that's congratulations, Landon, because
Thank you.
I've worked with a lot of founders, and we're sitting there, and it's not obvious, and you got the team in the room, and you got your own money in this thing, and the last experiment didn't work, and what do we want to do, and all that kind of stuff. You didn't stop, and I think that's part of the magic trick here. And you're also very savvy here, have learned a lot of lessons along the way, and you're quite open to bringing others in to help you see things and work with your team and so forth. So I totally get that, and I'm excited. What kind of growth rate are you seeing now? Because you have a new customer acquisition and a customer expansion as they get better at this.
Yeah.
What kind of growth rates are you seeing?
Yeah. So our new product, we released the referrals piece last year, and that's the product that we sell on every call, that we lead with that.
Yeah.
Before then, it was just the reviews and reputation
Right.
piece. It was a month-to-month product, $4.99 a month, hard sell.
Yeah.
And so since we've released our new product, that new product is growing triple digits year over year.
Yeah.
And it's accelerating. So
Yeah. Awesome.
triple digits. And if we can keep that going, and we're on the path to profitability, and at the end of the day, the product's got to work and be sticky, right? For these clients, and we're seeing those signs.
Awesome. Yeah. So you kind of lived through the cycle long enough to say,
yeah,
it's working, not just it's selling and it's implementing and it's starting.
Yeah. Because one thing you can't replace, you need time, right? To see the first cohort come across that first annual renewal line, right? And we just are now having our first cohort come past that.
And all the expansion and so forth. So it's like the ultimate metric is, net revenue retention, number of customers that stay, and then, the ones that stay, do they pay you more because it's working so well through the thing? So congratulations again, Landon.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Your progress here. I know how hard it is and how much you've put into this and how hard your team has worked up there. Landon, for practical founders out there, maybe the ones creating a product out of a service business or doing two things at once, that challenging game, right? That can be difficult. What advice do you have most often for these practical SaaS founders creating software businesses out of another business, probably a services business?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think first and foremost, fear can be debilitating. And the reason I mention that is if you're focused on, if you have fear of failure, that if you take a leap and you're going to fail, it'll be a paralysis, and you won't be able to move forward and see opportunity and take risks that will open up doors.
Take risks.
So you've got to get to the mindset of failure is not fatal. Like everybody who's been successful has failed multiple times, right? So just take the leap. And if you can get past that barrier,
not a big leap, start leaping.
Yeah, it can be small, and it could just be a mental leap of I can build, I can create, right? I've got something that's unique, and I think people oftentimes, it might be as simple, Greg, as wanting to do a LinkedIn post. They get to this wall of I can't, right? So get beyond that. If I can, I've got something unique. I can build, I can create. So with that mindset, then look at it and say, especially if you've been running a service business, where are there opportunities to make that service better with tech, right? And some of the best SaaS companies are born out of this domain knowledge that comes from running a service business.
Yeah.
And so you got to keep the service business running, right? But keep your eyes open to opportunities that will reveal themselves on where tech could make that service better. And then know that if you see it, there's going to be a myriad of other people that will pay for it if you build it. So, then you find, okay, who can be my, technical partner in this, or how can I outsource this? And don't if your service business is profitable. Now, listen, if you just want to have it be a lifestyle business, it's not a bad thing. But if you do want to build a SaaS company, start to invest, parlay that capital little by little to build a version 1 of the product, or whatever it might be. So that would be a few tips.
Awesome. Well, we talked to so many practical founders that say, I grew this company and I built it like we had one from the roofing industry. I, was a big roofer, and we created software for our salespeople, and it did a lot of things automated. And I still was selling to other roofing companies, very typical thing. But you start with oh my God, that's and he's sold part of the company. It's really valuable, fast growing, dominating their industry. But you ask them at the end, well, how did you get there?
Right.
And it took longer than they thought. And then you realize that it wouldn't have happened unless they did the roofing business for 20 years.
Right.
That kind of thing. Same time. So, it's that practical.
And I think you highlighted
journey.
something there, Greg, is also being patient. Things don't happen overnight, and it takes years and years sometimes. So don't, there's also wisdom sometimes in pulling out when the time's right, and not continue just to run yourself to the ground. But be patient. If you see signals of it moving forward and there being progress, don't get frustrated with that progress not being as quick as the brand that's on the billboard on the freeway. Right. Keep building.
It's kind of a myth. We're moving fast, and there's less fear. So they're trying a bunch of stuff and sorting it out really fast at these fast-growing, overfunded companies and so forth. But that pace is important, and they got a limited window to find the big win, or it doesn't work. And to be able to keep trying and not stop is one of the superpowers of practical founders. So when people say, should I burn the ships and go all in and so forth, I would say not necessarily. Don't quit your day job yet, because you need until right, and not just kid yourself here. And you're still not completely confident. Yep. Yeah, you're just working there. You're much closer to it. So that's all great advice, Landon. Really appreciate it. You mentioned you're open to having conversations with
I'd love to.
Service providers that are thinking about their software product. How can people reach you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is great. A LinkedIn DM or email Landon, LANDON at snowball.com.
Awesome. Really appreciate that. We'll have links to that in your website or on your podcast page in the show notes there. Landon, thanks for sharing your story on the Practical Founders podcast. I've known you, and I learned a few new things today, so really appreciate that.
Thanks, Greg. Likewise. Thanks for having me on, and always good talking to you, and appreciate your help that you've given to our business over the years and continue to give. So always love hearing from you.
Awesome. Thanks, Landon.
Thanks. Okay. See ya.
Thanks for watching this week's founder interview on the Practical Founders podcast. Be sure to hit like and then subscribe to my Practical Founders YouTube channel to keep up with my weekly videos for serious software founders who are building valuable companies without big funding. Check out my blog and information about my Practical Founders CEO peer groups at practicalfounders.com. And follow me on LinkedIn to keep the conversation going. See you next week.